Hannah, have you ever experienced the existential dread when you drive your car, park it, go inside, maybe go to sleep or whatever, come out the next morning and you start it and just like all of your alarms are on and your car's shaking?
No.
Okay, that is what I experienced about 2 weeks ago. I got the Rona, as they call it, finally. It only took 2.5 years to actually get it. So I feel pretty good about that, I guess. And I didn't really have any symptoms, so that was nice. But because of that, I did not drive my car for about maybe 5 days. And then when I finally was free and could leave my quarantine of my apartment, I was headed back to work, turned on my car, and just like rumbling, like it was shaking, and like my power steering alarm was on, my check engine light was on. There was like this message that was like error with your like drift thing. And I was just like, God damn it. I was like, I don't want to deal with this. I was trying to look around to see if anything was weird, and everything seemed fine. And, like, my car is pretty new. Hannah and I have the same car, and yours is probably, like 6 months older than mine?
Yeah, they're 2020s.
2020, and I've had no problems with it so far, which you shouldn't, With a car, I don't drive very much, and also, like, it's brand new, so it should not be breaking down. So I'm like, God, I don't want to pay for this. I called a mechanic that I've taken my old car to before, and they were very familiar with my old car because I had to take it there every couple months. And they're like, okay, we'll take a look at it and get back to you. So then towards the end of the day, get a call back, and he's like, yeah, some rodents chewed through your wires.
Oh my God.
Yeah, rodents, Hannah, probably squirrels because they hang out around my car, chewed through wires in my car.
Jeez.
And on top of that, he told me that he's like, I have never seen more cars come into my shop with wires chewed through than I have in the last 2 years. He's like, I've seen like the amount of cars in the past 2 years that I've seen in my entire like career. Like it apparently what is happening, Hannah, car companies are coating their wires with a soy-based coating, Hannah. Soy. What do animals like? Food. They eat soy. Rodents eat soy. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. It didn't get through some testing stage where they just didn't think about that and didn't consider it. But all of your wires, Hannah, in your car are covered in soy. He was like, you could spray some peppermint oil in there. They don't like peppermint. And I'm like, I'm not going to spray some peppermint inside, like some essential oils in my car to ward off the rodents. So he was like, yeah, maybe don't leave your car. He's like, try to drive your car every day or two. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'd do that if I didn't have COVID and was quarantined. Like, the one time my car sits for more than 2 days is when my wires get eaten, Hannah. I was pissed off. Thankfully, it wasn't very expensive, but I was pissed because I was like, God damn it, rodents, leave my car alone. Leave them alone. You don't need the wires. The soy is not good for you. Like, you are not going to experience joy eating that plastic soy coating.
Man.
So that's just a heads up for you,
Yeah.
Be aware.
Good to know. Even these rodents are struggling during COVID.
They are. These trying times.
They're so desperate, they're chewing through wires.
They don't have enough food. Survive the winter. They got to get their soy where they can, Hannah.
It's rodent sabotage. They're turning on us.
I was distraught, though, because I see some squirrels hanging around my car, every now and then, and I was like, damn you.
Don't you go chewing those wires.
Yeah.
Don't you go dying on me.
But anyway, when I turned on my car, Hannah, I was distraught, because I was like, I haven't had to take my car to a mechanic since 2020.
Yeah.
And I was loving it. I was loving having to just be able to drive and not be worried about my car breaking down on the highway for the 4th time, as I had experienced it 4 times at this point. Do you know that that's not a normal thing, Hannah?
It's not.
Like, sometimes I bring up issues that, like, my old car had at work, and, like, nobody I know has ever had their car, like, break down on the highway. And I was like, it happened 4 times. You were there 2 of the times.
I was. The sad time we had to pull over in
Flint, yes.
Flint.
Yeah, when the tow truck came before Dad got there, and we just had to, like, be standing in an abandoned parking lot, like an abandoned vet's office in the rain with our luggage, just, like, in a parking lot. We were like, well, this is it.
There's a photo.
There's a photo? Did you take a photo?
You took a Snapchat and saved it.
I took a Snapchat?
I think so.
Do I have it? I don't think I have that.
It says like alone and stranded in Flint or something.
Do you have that?
I know I have it. I've seen it somewhere, so I
it?
must have saved it.
I don't
Maybe I
think
screenshotted
took that.
it.
What a time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was really enjoying it, but then the rodents had to ruin
They always do.
my time.
As my friend would say, those damn mice.
Yeah. Damn mice.
Get you every time. It's Christmas time.
Christmas time is
There's no need to be afraid.
Oh my god, have you seen the creepy the edit with he knows when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, but with the Law and Order SVU theme song? So it's like, he knows when you are sleeping. He knows when you're... Anyway, it's Christmas time. Welcome. This is Research Rank Repeat. I am co-host Alyssa.
This is co-host Hannah.
And we're here for our annual Christmas movie episode.
Woo!
Woo! That's it.
Okay, yeah, that was it.
That's it. That's it.
We told you we'd be back by the end of the year.
Yeah. We're back.
We are going to edit our Christmas list. We have 3 new movies. I picked a movie, Alyssa picked a movie, and we let a random Generizer pick a movie for us.
Generizer?
Randomizer.
A generated, like a random generated...
Generator.
Yeah. Randomizer.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Generizer. I like that. It's a nice, I had to think for a second. I was like, what? What's going on? Yeah, so we were like, we can't do 5 this year. We don't have the time. We don't have the energy. Like, 2022 is a shit year, you know? We can barely just get the episodes out, you know, in an orderly fashion, considering our, 3-month hiatus we took. But we can never say no to Christmas. Now, Hannah, last year, you were attacked by a spider.
Yes. How the spiders stole Christmas.
Yes. I'd like to tell you now, Hannah, yesterday I was doing dishes, minding my own business, and I turned to my right, and there was a spider hanging from the ceiling at eye level, and I went, ah! And then I kind of got him down with my, what I was washing, and I kind of lowered him to the counter, and I was like, all right, you hang out and you do you. Mind your own business and leave me alone. But the spider attacked early this year. 1 day early. Almost got me. Ugh. Almost got you, but the spider couldn't be bothered. Spider's taking the year off.
So are we. Us and the spider are the same.
We are the same. Oh, Hannah, also, do you remember in last year's episode you claimed, quote, that you were going to create a website and that I would help you create this website? Do we have an update on this website? Because I had completely forgotten about this, as I was just told to... I was told that I was going to assist with it, but not be in charge of the creative process. So, I'm just curious how that went.
We have an update.
Okay.
Months and months ago, I actually started to create the website.
Okay.
It is technically up.
It's in production.
But it's not... months went by without any work on it.
You know what? That's fine.
It does exist.
It exists. You know what? That's more than I was expecting. Yeah. So that's fine.
I'm still planning on doing it. Got to get some more stuff. And I found a website that will do free transcriptions.
Oh,
so
that's nice.
My hope is to put transcriptions of all our episodes on there because I know it's important to have accessibility.
Yeah.
For people who are hard of hearing or stuff like that.
Of course.
So, yeah. So it's being worked on. Took a bit of a hiatus. You know.
As we do.
Yes. But my hope is the beginning of this next year that I'll start reworking on it and I'll give an update.
Nice.
Yes.
How exciting. I just was listening to our last year's episode just to prepare for this one, and I was like, oh, interesting.
I forgot I announced that.
Yeah, you just kind of announced that. You were like, I'm just telling you now. I'm at work. I'm going to make a website.
2021 Hannah had high hopes.
So did 2021 Alyssa.
Yeah. 2022 Hannah's a little bit different, so.
I would agree. A little more realistic, a little more beat down, you know.
We came down to earth quickly.
We did.
Yeah. But anyways, so yes, that is my update.
All right. Well, good to know. Now, I think we just went straight into Christmas episodes. I don't think we did any pre-things before Christmas. So,
I picked Elf. We both were like, we'll pick a movie, and the first one that came to my head was Elf, so I went with Elf.
Sounds good.
So I got some background.
Sounds great.
Elf, rated PG-13, or sorry, PG.
PG-13?
No, PG.
Is that the unrated version?
Technically it was supposed to be PG-13, I'll get to that.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Anyways, it came out in 2003. It's an hour and 37 minutes. It had a 7 out of 10 on IMDb. 85% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 64% on Metacritic. It is directed by, I always say his name wrong.
Jon Favreau?
Jon Favreau?
I think it's Favreau.
Favreau, okay.
I think so.
And written by David Birnbaum.
That's a fun last name.
Yeah. Box office was $225 million. So basically, this initial script was written by David Birnbaum in 1993. Mm-hmm. And potential people who were set to play Buddy were Chris Farley and Jim Carrey.
Which I can see.
Yeah. Basically what happened was that the script underwent a bunch of rewrites. It was originally much darker, and Favreau? Jon Favreau wasn't really...
Let's go with that.
Sure. We're going to stick to it. Jon Favreau initially wasn't interested in directing like that sort of movie, but he wanted the chance to work with Will Ferrell as it was his first post-SNL movie.
Oh, okay.
So basically they reconstructed the movie to make it more of the vision that like he had, and it originally would have been a PG-13 script.
Which makes sense if you're having Chris Farley or Jim Carrey play the lead. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so the film uses a heavy amount of forced perspective, and that is to exaggerate the size of Buddy compared to the other elves. Mostly in the scenes, obviously, with like the beginning scenes. Pretty much the beginning scenes were the only ones with the elves, actually. The first.
Yeah, maybe the very end, too.
Right.
Yeah.
And this movie inspired a 2010 Broadway musical called Elf the Musical. Also a stop motion, like SNL short they did too.
Okay. So
the soundtrack is the second highest selling soundtrack for a Christmas themed film since they began tracking that, which was in 1991 was when they started tracking that.
Do you know what the top one is?
Polar Express.
Oh, God.
That soundtrack is really popular.
To be fair, I do have Believe on my top Christmas songs list. It's a great song.
He can sell any Christmas album.
I think the last time you watched Polar Express, I asked you to let me know when it ended so I could watch the credits just to hear the song. Yes.
Yes. So Elf often ranks among the greatest Christmas films. It's on a lot of films lists. It's on a lot of lists.
Yes, on a lot of lists of the great Christmas films.
Yeah.
Yes.
And some of the scenes that are filmed in New York at the beginning when Buddy arrives were with people who, like, weren't supposed to be involved in the film.
Yeah.
Like, they basically just told Will Ferrell to, like, run around New York.
Yes. I've definitely gone through the entire Wikipedia page of Elf at some point in the past, and I do remember reading that and thinking that was fun.
And there was talks of a potential sequel having been created. It's deemed unlikely to happen because I guess there's been issues with Will Ferrell and Jon Favreau.
Okay, interesting. I wonder why.
I don't know. They had some issues, so they both said that it's like unlikely to happen at this point.
Also, Bob Newhart's like 99 years old.
Yes, and also I'm pretty sure the guy who plays the dad died.
He did. Yeah. He did die.
I can't think of his name right now.
Walter Hobbs.
Walter, yes. Anyways, so they've said it's basically not going to happen at this point.
I also don't think it needs a sequel.
I don't think it would do well as a sequel.
I don't think the message would translate the same. I don't think it would play the same.
I agree.
So I'm kind of cool with it being a one and done situation.
Yeah, me too. And now I have a summary.
All right.
Who is a charming, sharp man who has daddy issues? Not Tyrion Lannister, it's Miles Finch. When Will Ferrell sneaks into Santa's toy bag as a baby, he ends up at the North Pole and discovers his true calling as an elf. There is beef and cheese, the world's best cup of coffee, and exquisite mailroom dancing in this Christmas comedy that reminds us that anyone can be who they truly want to be. But the children love the books. First thing I wrote. But the children
was it
love
really?
the books. Yeah.
But the children loves the books were the first thing I wrote right at the top here.
I also wrote that.
Oh my god. Amazing.
I literally only wrote like 3 notes for this movie because I've seen it so many times.
Hannah, I only wrote, but the children love the books.
I know.
That's all I wrote. And then I have my stuff at the bottom. Because
Right.
I just Hannah, I have a question actually. Do you remember seeing this in theaters?
Yes.
Because we did see it in theaters, and it was the tiniest theater I
Yeah.
think I've ever been in. Do you remember that?
I do.
It was like maybe 30 seats?
Yeah, it was tiny.
Tiny.
I know.
What year did this come out?
2003.
Okay, so we would have been in Tennessee then when we saw this. Maybe that's
Yeah.
why the theater was so tiny, because we were in a very small town
Maybe.
in Tennessee. This is the only Christmas movie that we've done so far that I remember like seeing for the first time.
Right,
That
when
I
it
have like
came out.
a very specific memory of.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe makes it feel different, potentially. Just because like I feel like some movies it's like I don't remember seeing. You know, I don't have like a memory of seeing the movie for the first time. It's like I just know the movie.
I think it's definitely one of our most quoted Christmas movies. The only one I can think of that's more is probably The Grinch with Jim Carrey.
Christmas Vacation.
Oh, Christmas Vacation too.
Yeah, that
It's
one
definitely
I think,
up there, though.
It's up there. You know, I was watching this and I was like, I don't even think I can come up with a favorite line because I know so many of these lines. Like, oh, there's just so many of them.
I think this movie is just like it's fun. And I read somewhere someone said like Will Ferrell totally bought into this role and just like went with it, and that's why the movie works. And I have to say I agree.
I definitely agree as well that like that character would not work with someone who's not fully committed. And like he is in any other movie would be like the most annoying character. Like you would hate them. They'd be that like side character that nobody likes and is like, you know, gets in the way and is like really annoying. But I think he plays it so earnestly, and like he's so earnest in the role. Like he's genuinely like amazed with all the random things in New York, passion fruit spray.
Yeah.
You know, genuinely is just like so happy and loves Christmas and loves sugar, candy canes, candy corn, and maple syrup. And I think that's why it works, is because Will Ferrell does such a good job of portraying this, you know, childlike character who with no, you know, like a fish out of water story. But I like that everyone else is very grounded.
Yeah.
And really the only character that feeds into that is Michael, his other son.
Which he's younger, so that makes sense.
Which he's younger, yeah.
Right.
But I like that all these other characters are like very like based in reality. They're very much like, hey, you know, like there's something wrong with him. You know, it's, you know, there's something going on. Like, you know, like when he takes him to the doctor and he's probably like having, you know, some
like psychosomatic
to fill the void of not knowing his parents, you know, and stuff like that. So I think that helps because it's not so over the top where like everyone is over the top. It's like just him. Like he is the one in this world, like in New York City, that is different and is trying to like adjust and like find his place.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a really good comedy movie, but I think that there's like a lot of like heartfelt moments in that. And I think the story really works. I think his father being like on the naughty list and like him like learning, I guess, what's more important in life than working and stuff like that. And every time I watch Elf, I feel like I enjoy it.
Yeah. I always have an incredibly hard time recognizing Zoe Deschanel with blonde hair.
Yes.
Because that's the only role I know of her in that she has a different hair color. And I am always thrown off every time where I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
She's blonde in this one. I forgot.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it works in a lot of ways. I think maybe if there's any like negatives of the movie, it's that I don't know. I feel like sometimes when I watch it, like parts in the middle, I'm just kind of like, maybe because I've seen it so many times, maybe that's why. I just feel like it just kind of in the middle a little bit drags, but I think overall it's solid.
I think also there's a little bit of the humor that doesn't necessarily like work today or doesn't really hold up, or like me as an adult versus me as a kid. Like I don't exactly.
Yeah, and we're talking about early 2000s humor, which was definitely
some of the stuff with Miles Finch. I'm like, it just like goes on too long.
It's
like,
too much.
I think at the very least, like it's played in a way where everyone's in on the joke, right? Because he is like from the North Pole and therefore is like, oh, someone, he is an elf. But like I felt like when I was watching it this time, I was like, okay, this has gone on a minute longer than it needed to go on for. So I would say like some of the humor I think is maybe like a little like but product of its time, and I think the story and like the dialogue, actually, honestly, great dialogue most of the time.
Yeah.
So I think that's what really carries it.
I really like the character interactions. I think a lot
too.
of the smaller character interactions really work well.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably what one of its like high points of the movie is.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything else.
Yeah. I didn't write anything else down because I just wrote down, but the children love the books because we love to say that.
Yeah. I would say a favorite character is Buddy. I just think you can't help but like feel for him and like want to root for him, and he's just like essentially trying to find his place, and I think most people can relate to that, maybe not in the extreme, but in like the sense that he's in a new place, he doesn't feel like he fits in, etc., etc. Like everyone's been through that. So I just think he's very like enduring.
Yeah, I agree. I also picked Buddy. I like his character. He carries the movie,
Right.
In a way that I think works really well, and ways that he's able to like learn and grow. If somebody came into my house and dismantled my TV,
The entertainment center
and made a rocking horse out of it, I would be pissed myself. But we all have our flaws. Also, the dancing in the mailroom. Every time I watch that, I'm like, how can I do that? Like, what do I need to do to be able to do this? Because I've tried.
Tried.
And I used to dance too. Like, I've tried. Can't do it. I don't have the flexible like heels for that. But he's just like such a joy to watch, and like it's just fun. It's a fun movie. It's and it has heart.
Yeah.
And we don't really get to see him in this type of role very often.
No.
Like normally he's very either super comedic and in a more not inappropriate, I say in air quotes, because like usually he's in like PG-13 or R-rated comedies, or he's very serious, and like this is kind of like this like goofy kind of fun, more made for like a family comedy,
right?
So it's fun to see him in that role.
Yeah, I agree. My favorite scene was actually what you just said. I love the mailroom dance scene.
It's fun.
I love it. Every time I watch this movie,
the whole mailroom scene is great. When they're like
when
laying on the table.
Yeah, when he meets the guy and they're like just having a good time drunk, and then
Yeah.
they're dancing. Like it's just the whole thing I love.
Yeah, I like that, and I also like the scene. I think the whole last scene with like the Central Park and them like trying to get the Christmas spirit, like I think that works as like a finale to a movie pretty well. So I like both of those.
I agree.
And then line, I can't pick a favorite line. There's too many.
I just went with "But the children love the books."
I guess that's the only one I wrote down.
But I also love "You smell like beef
cheese.
and cheese. You don't even smell like Santa."
Yeah.
There's a
You're
lot.
not Santa. Yeah. There's so many.
Yeah.
So last year we did something where we did the best music use, because I feel like Christmas movies a lot of the time are very known for their soundtracks and like use of music. Did you have a favorite music use, Hannah?
Yeah, it's technically not like a Christmas song, but I really like the their date sequence, and it's the "You Make Me Feel So Young."
Oh, the synopsis.
I just really like the like that whole sequence is just really cute. Like them like going around, and she's like playing into the fact that he wants to go like taste like the world's best cup of coffee and all this stuff. And I just find the whole scene to be like cute and like, I don't know, it's nice.
Yeah. So I went with the use of Sleigh Ride. I think that's the name of the song. I probably could have looked it up. But it's when he's like gets to the mall and he's just like experiencing everything with especially the passion fruit spray where he gets passion fruit spray like body scent sprayed into his mouth and then is like aghast over it. And I love it so much. I think we've quoted that multiple times on the podcast.
Passion fruit spray?
Yeah. I like the use of that song. Like any of the like the montages of him like experiencing things with the backing music, I think works really well.
I agree. Yeah.
All right. Now we go to my choice, and we're gonna dial back the clock a little bit, all the way back to a good old black and white. I decided for my choice that Hannah told me first. She said, "I'm picking Elf," and I said, "Cool. I'm gonna pick something not Elf." Very far different on the spectrum, but a classic, the same. I have chosen It's a Wonderful Life, our mom's favorite Christmas movie. Actually, I was talking about it at work, and nobody I worked with had seen it.
Not many people have.
It's not as, I feel like it's not as well known, which, fair. It's a Wonderful Life came out in 1946 in black and white. Although if you're like me and you just search for it and click on it, Amazon will give you the color version. And I was like, something is wrong. And then I came to the discovery that, yes, it is. Because I asked Hannah, I was like, is it normally in black and white? Or like, is the version we usually watch in black and white? And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, great. Because I was like, something seemed wrong. But anyway, it's got a runtime of 2 hours and 10 minutes. It's rated PG. And it is a Christmas fantasy drama directed by Frank Capara. I think Capara, who was well known for a lot of his films made in the 1930s and 40s. He actually directed the main actor, James Stewart, in Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. He had a couple award-winning films before he made this. So, It's a Wonderful Life is actually based on a pamphlet / short story called The Greatest Gift that was released in 1943. So a really quick turnaround between release and production of this movie. And that pamphlet is also loosely based on A Christmas Carol, which is funny because at work a couple days ago, I was trying to explain the movie to someone who had never seen it before. And I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of like this, kind of is like A Christmas Carol. And then I read that and I was like, oh, I'm like, you know what? It all makes sense. Like so it was purposely based off of, like loosely based off of Christmas Carol, which is a novella by Charles Dickens, which last year we did A Muppet's Christmas Carol. So we have talked about that story into movie adaptation already. If you wanted to hear our thoughts on A Christmas Carol, you may listen to that episode. One of the actors is uncredited in this role. Well, actually, there's like 20 uncredited actors and actresses, but one of them of note is Jimmy the Raven, who plays Uncle Billy's bird in the movie. Jimmy the Raven was in over 1,000 films between the 1930 and 1950, acted for 20 years in over 1,000 films. I just thought that should be noted because it's pretty good. Lifetime Achievement Award for that Raven, Jimmy the Raven. Give it up for him. 1944, RKO Pictures purchased the rights to the story for $10,000. They wanted Cary Grant to be involved, who was a famous actor of the time. However, Cary Grant was working on a different movie, I think a different Christmas movie, so they were like, hey, Frank Capara had this production company called Liberty Films, and they were like, hey, you want to buy this Christmas film, like this story, to make a film out of it? And he was like, yeah, sure. So he bought it. They said they sold it for $10,000, but he claimed that he had to buy it for $50,000. So there's some disputes on some things. And so this the short story was actually only 4,100 words. So it was really, really short. And it had the bare bones structure of what the film would be, and the character is a different name, but the general premise is like what was there. And so there were several screenwriters on the production of this film. There was initial screenwriters who worked on it at the first studio. There were other screenwriters who came in later on, and because of that, there were a lot of disputes on writing credits. I guess one of the people who wrote the film, who was given like a forethought credit, like not a full credit, like him and the director were not or on speaking terms after that because of that, what happened with the writing credit disputes. So in casting, the actor who played Mr. Potter, who is like the villain banker of the film, actually played Ebenezer Scrooge in radio productions of A Christmas Carol, and there is a lot of similarities between those two characters, which I thought was interesting that they purposely chose this actor because of his role. This movie was filmed on this like insanely large ranch, this movie ranch. It was an 89-acre movie ranch, and they created a town in 4 acres of those 89 acres. They created an entire town, and they actually let pigeons, cats, and dogs roam around them sets freely, so it would appear that they were lived in. Like, it was like a 900-foot town. Like, they created the entire thing. And actually, most of it does not exist. I think that pool scene, that actually exists in a real high school in Beverly Hills, and one of the homes exists. But otherwise, the entire set was demolished at some point in the past. This is just because the 40s were a different time. So the scene where the young George Bailey gets slapped around by the guy who he works for was real. And the kid got slapped so hard that his ears started to bleed and he began to cry. And the actual actor who slapped him was really drunk on the set when they filmed that. And he felt bad, so he hugged him afterwards.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I was reading that.
No labor laws or child protection.
I was reading that, and I was like, Jesus Christ. What is this? So there also were a lot of alternative scenes that were written and filmed but were not put in the movie, and they actually rewrote the ending as well. A lot of the scenes that they cut were involved more like prayer and a lot more religious undertones, but they thought that it was too overly religious, so they wanted to take out some of those scenes. They also had 3 different cinematographers because there were also issues with the cinematographers. But because they're like the film is shot in different ways, it didn't really feel jarring to have different like people be like running the cinematography. So they thought that actually helped the movie due to the fact that you follow this character throughout his life. So there's different time periods that were set in. This movie was also released right after World War II. It was a lot of these actors' first credits after returning from the war, because Jimmy Stewart did serve in the war. And it was seen as a movie that helped with a lot of the loss and hardships that a lot of the people had experienced during that time. And it had a lot of mixed reviews when it came out. It bombed in the box office. It only made $3.3 million, and it was said that it needed to make about double that just to cover the costs of the film. It really didn't do well. It was considered a failure at the time it was released. A lot of the contemporary reviews, like general audiences, writers and reviewers seem to have more like mixed views on it. And even the FBI made a comment about the film that I thought was very interesting. So 1947, which is the year after the movie came out, the FBI released a memo in which they commented on how the depiction of bankers in the film was, quote, a common trick used by communists, end quote. They really didn't like the portrayal of Mr. Potter, the banker, as being this evil man. You know, those communists.
Yeah.
This, of course, was around the time the Red Scare was going on, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I just thought it was very interesting that the FBI felt the need to comment on this film and its, themes and characters. So, while this film failed, let's talk about how it became a classic, a Christmas classic. So, in 1976, this film entered the public domain. It had, its license had expired. So basically, stations could air it without having to pay fees to air it on television. And so in the 1980s, it became a normalized Christmas broadcast that would air multiple times a year. And the 80s is really when it became a staple of Christmas movies. In 1999, it was deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant by the Library of Congress. It was ranked number 11 on American Film Institute's greatest movie list in 1998, and then in an updated one in 2007, it was ranked 20th. The American Film Institute ranked it the number 1 most inspirational movie. It had 5 Academy Award nominations. It did not win any, with the exception of a Technical Achievement Award. Now, this is really interesting, Hannah, because when they filmed this, as this does take place on Christmas Eve, or a bulk of the movie takes place on Christmas Eve, they wanted to create a new formula for snow, because what they were currently using before that, Hannah, was cornflakes. Cornflakes.
Yes.
And they were so loud to step on that you would have to redub the lines later because you couldn't hear anyone speak over how loud the cornflakes were. So what happened is they created a new snow with water, soap flakes, foamite, and sugar, like a fire suppression, basically. Previously, before that, they used a lot of asbestos. Fun times for all the actors and actresses involved who probably developed mesothelioma.
Asbestos?
Yeah. What did I say?
Asbestos. You said that before.
Oh, God. I don't know. That word I've never been able to pronounce. And I took a real whack at it because I had written it down and I was like, I should mention it because like Wizard of Oz is notorious for having used that on their set.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they created this new snow and they won a Technical Achievement Award, which I think is pretty cool. It also won a Golden Globe for Best Director. And it was colorized 3 times. Once in 1986, once in 1989, and once in 2007, which is the version that is used on streaming services and DVD. It also had several remakes, and there were too many and none noteworthy, so I didn't list them down. There was also a 1990 made-for-television sequel based on Clarence, the Guardian Angel. It has a rating of 8.6 out of 10 on IMDb, and it has a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now on to my summary. Loosely based on a short story, loosely based on a classic Christmas tale, follow the life of George Bailey, a man who constantly gives up his dreams to support his family in town. Follow his life from child to disgruntled 38-year-old about to commit suicide until Clarence, a guardian angel, is sent to help him find his worth at an hour and 40 minutes into the film and earn his wings. Clarence does not appear, Hannah, until an hour and 48 minutes into the film.
I wrote a note.
I had forgotten that it took that long.
I wrote a note that I said, interesting, you technically hear about Clarence at the beginning. You aren't reintroduced to him until there are 30 minutes left.
Which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
He's only in, like, significantly in, like, less than 30 minutes of the film. Yeah. But I feel like that's, like, one of the things I remember, you know, that you think about and remember with this film.
Yeah.
I understand why this is a classic. Like, this is why this is considered one of the best Christmas films, why it's considered a classic, why people like it. Because I feel like it just has this very, like, good message. James Stewart, or Jimmy Stewart, however everyone refer to him is, he like, plays the character of George Bailey so well. Like, you feel such sympathy. You feel so much for this character because you watch him grow up and see everything he has to sacrifice and gives up and, like, becomes so distrodden and, like, so, like, upset. Also, sorry to side note here, but I just need to make a comment on how Mr. Potter fucking steals money and there are no repercussions. Doesn't get in trouble. Nothing happens to this man. He just steals money and is like, it's my money.
The 40s were a different time.
I was reading a comment when I was looking at reviews, and somebody, like, in the 90s, I think, made a comment that they were like, surprised that it made it past censors. That there was no, like, repercussions for this man for stealing that much money. Like, again, it's a communist play.
Yeah. I think this movie is like a masterclass in character development.
Yeah.
And, like, focusing on a single character and, like, developing, like, you literally get his whole entire life up until the point where he's at. I also think it's, like, a very simple but also complex film. Mm-hmm. I think that it really relies heavily, which I think a lot of the older movies do because they didn't have as much action and stuff. It relies really heavily on the writing and, like, character interactions.
Yeah.
Which I think it does really well. And I think, too, that I like how the movie flows. I like how it's set up. I think that it's interesting because most of the movie is, like, leading up to it and then, like, what happens if he were dead, you know,
Right.
his hypothetical. Yeah. You don't really get much of, like, the last, like, 30 minutes are basically all you get of, like, going through all of that.
Can we also talk about how, like, in this, like, alternate reality where everything is horrible, his wife is single?
Yeah.
And therefore, that's... I mean, to be fair, it was the 40s.
But, like,
so,
she's unmarried, so that's
being a
horror.
spinster is,
right.
like, the worst thing that can happen to you, Hannah.
Right.
Definitely. And she has glasses.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Definitely some of the scenes are a bit, like cringe, but it's also the 40s.
Yeah, like, as a young boy, he talks about how he's going to be an explorer and then have a harem and multiple wives, and I was like, I was like, okay.
Yeah, so we've talked before about how we have to try to view these movies from the lens of when they were released.
Yes.
I mean, they didn't have blackface, so
I mean, it was 80 years ago. Yeah, there was no blackface. That's true.
So I guess that's a plus.
And there wasn't really anything that I found to be, like, offensive.
No.
In the sense of, like, you know, like, racism or, you know, I mean, sexism, but again, it's the 40s, and I can look at it through the lens in which it was released, you know. And it's a story based from, like, 1919 to 1940. So I think that's also why it holds up and, like, is because there really isn't anything that, like, you know,
is
that I
too, like,
where it's hard to look past, you know, those things.
Exactly.
So I think it just, like, it is, like, the story carries it. It has a lot of really likable characters. Clarence is great. He's very likable. George Bailey's likable. Mary, his wife, is very likable. Except for Mr. Potter. I hate him with a burning passion. But he's supposed to be hated. Like, that's his role, is to be hated. Rightfully so. But I think it is, I think it's well done. It's a well-told story. And it's simple. I think that works, that it is, like, it's not this, like, elaborate, magical Christmas story, you know? Like, if it's just this guy just, like, trying to live his life and, like, realize that, people need him. People rely on him. And he's very important into people's lives. And, you know.
I think if you don't enjoy a lot of, like, writing, dialogue, like, smaller moments, you might not like this film as much. Or you might find it boring. Mm-hmm. But I like it. I enjoy those kind of movies, and that's something
we also was kind of indoctrinated into it.
Right.
Also.
Yeah. But yeah,
I think my one thing is this is not for me personally, this is not a movie that I can watch every year. Because it is 2 hours and 10 minutes long. It's a long movie. There are, like, a lot of movies that I would consider to be really good movies that I also wouldn't really watch a lot.
Yeah.
You know, that I can watch, and I have certainly seen this movie multiple times, but I think that if I tried to watch it every single year, I might have issues with it.
See, that's interesting because this is the one movie that I always want to watch every year.
Okay.
I watch it pretty much every Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's my one caveat with it, but I think it's a well done movie.
I agree.
It's a good Christmas movie that doesn't... I like it because it also, like, Christmas is not necessarily the focus of the film. It just happens to take place
on Christmas
Eve.
Right.
And therefore Christmas is the backing of, like, the present day story.
Yeah.
And I like that aspect too, because it makes it not as... it can exist in its own right as well.
Right. Yeah.
Because with our next movie, I feel like it's incredibly hindered by the fact that it's very involved
Christmas focused, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
That makes sense.
I agree. Yeah. Okay. My favorite character is George.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, he's in so much of the movie, but I also think that, like you said, James Stewart plays him really well, similar to how he said Will Ferrell played Buddy really well. I just think that you want to root for him. He gives up a lot to support his family and to make sure that, like, his dad's business stays running and stuff like that. And I just like all of his interactions with the other characters as well.
Yeah. I also thought the child actor who played him did a really good job as well. I really liked his actor who played him as a child. Yeah, I agree. He's just, like... I was gonna say, yeah, James Stewart is just known as this like kind of everyman. Like in Hollywood at the time, he was kind of like he's got a little bit of a drawl. You know, he's like the everyman actor, and like was really well liked and like respected. And I think he plays that role super well.
Yeah.
Of just being someone who's just living his life and has hardships and has difficulties, but is able to like see in the good in things. And Joker, I like that he like jokes around a lot. I think he has like a really fun, you know, playful attitude a lot of the time. I mean, particularly not at the point when he's contemplating suicide, but
early
you know,
on, yeah,
as shown and expressed, especially with like interactions with him and Mary, especially, you see a lot of that. But I think his character is really like complex.
I agree. A favorite scene, I've always loved it. I really like the Charleston dance.
Yeah, the dance.
And I love the
fun.
part where they're like about to fall into the pool and everyone's cheering and they think it's because they're like dancing so well and stuff like that.
Yeah, the dance is a fun one.
Yeah.
The scene of him on the bridge when he wants to go back to like present day, I think is really powerful, and really well acted, and it's just like very. It's like, it's not a very long scene. It's only about 30 seconds, but I think it conveys everything that it needs to in that time without being too overly dramatic. Because, like, the version of this in A Christmas Carol is incredibly intense. Like, you're at his grave. Like, you know, Ebenezer Scrooge is looking at himself in his grave and then, in some adaptations, falls into his grave. I think that's how it's written in the book or the novella. But I like that this is not that. I like that it's just him just, like, just let me go back to my life, and then he's back, and it's just like it's a simple scene, but I think it works really well.
Yeah. Quote, I don't know if it's like cheesy, but I really like the one where he's like, you want the moon, just say the world and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down. Like, I just think it's like a really like sweet. Is that what you wrote?
Yep.
Yeah, I just think it's like a really sweet scene and like very like endearing and just like sincere.
Yeah. Yeah, and, I know, like, the every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings is, like, the iconic
popular,
line. But I really liked that as well. I think it's, like, playful, and it's, like, sincere, and it is sweet. It's like a cute, fun line that he says to her that I feel like conveys his feelings. Like, you know, he's like, I want to give you everything that you want.
Music, in terms of, like, music, I like the scene at the end where they're like the girls playing the piano and the whole town's just like there. Like, I just really like the end of the movie in general, but I think like that kind of like nicely wraps up like all the support he has in his life and everything like that, and like being in his house with his kids playing the piano and stuff like that.
I picked the same scene as well. There's two songs that are there. The first one is Hark the Herald Angels Sing is the first one, and then the second song I was going to look up and I forgot. But it's also the same song that's at the end of Elf as well.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name. But anyway, I agree. Same scene where, like, basically all the people come together to repay everything he's done for them to make sure his business stays afloat. And it's just, like, really heartwarming and, like, a happy scene. His brother comes back. It's like a flew out in a blizzard for you, brother.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it was a well-done musical sequence.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Now...
Save the best for last.
Save the best for last.
This was our... What I call it, a generizer?
A generizer.
Yeah.
We used we took a video when we used this back in October, but we were like, let's do 3 movies, and we were like, can we find like a Christmas movie randomizer that will like generate a movie for us? And we used that, and it gave us Christmas with the Cranks, which is a movie both of us have seen.
Yes.
So thankfully I was not thrown off guard by the quality of the film going into it.
Yeah. All right. Christmas with the Cranks. Rated PG. Came out in 2004. Was an hour and 34 minutes. Had a 5.4 out of 10 on IMDb, a 22 out of 100 on Metacritic, and a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It has a 5%?
I think 5% is a little low, honestly.
I think Master of Disguise has more than 5%.
I know. No, it's a 5%. Box office, $96.6 million. So this is actually based on the 2001 novel Skipping Christmas, written by John Grisham. And
Who wrote Jurassic Park?
I don't know.
Oh,
John
Michael
Grisham.
Crichton. Sorry, Michael Crichton.
Yeah,
Sorry.
John Grisham writes a bunch of like law,
Lost. Right,
he's
because
like
he was
lawyer.
involved with like Law and Order.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, right. Just sorry, I got my authors mixed up.
Yes, it was directed by Joe Roth and produced by good old Chris Columbus, not to be confused with Christopher Columbus.
Oh, they're two different people. Oh no. Okay. Wait.
No, I
okay.
meant like Christopher
Sorry.
Columbus, who discovered America.
Yes. Chris Columbus, who did Home Alone,
Yes.
made this.
He produced it. Yeah.
Oh no.
I know.
And Harry Potter made
think so.
this.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Ah,
Yeah.
that hurts.
Anyways,
That hurts, Hannah.
so originally they wanted to film this movie near Chicago or Minnesota because this movie takes place in like a Midwest setting. Due to extreme weather conditions during those time periods, they set up a stage in California.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
No shit.
Which was supposed to be used for future movies, but due to complaints from locals over toxic residues and a lack of profit, the studio closed the setting in 2012 and a mall was built there.
How fun.
Yeah.
What kind of toxic fumes we talking about
I don't know.
here?
It didn't
From the snow?
expand. I don't know. Who knows?
Mesothelioma?
Maybe. Asbestos.
Asbestos?
So on its opening weekend, it was the third best movie behind National Treasure and The Incredibles.
Both quality movies.
Yeah. So the soundtrack was produced by Steven Van Zandt of Bruce Springsteen's band.
Oh. I will say, soundtrack,
Yeah.
pretty good.
I was going to say there's horrible reviews about the movie, but the soundtrack is widely considered like one of the better Christmas soundtracks.
Yeah.
So it is actually the second worst reviewed Christmas movie on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know what the first is, but it's lower than 5%.
I mean, I'm assuming it's not any of the, like, the Hallmark ones.
No. It's probably, I don't know what it would be. Let me see.
I'm curious.
I should have looked that up.
I'm just, like, genuinely curious because, like, yeah, it's not good.
I don't think it's a 5%.
But what's considered worse?
Oh, it is the Nutcracker 2010 that had a 0%.
Nutcracker 2010.
Starring Elle Fanning, Nathan Lane.
What?
Yeah. Apparently they
Nutcracker
made it.
in 3D.
Yeah.
Is that Queen? What the?
Actually, my guess was going to be Deck the Halls, which is a 6%.
Oh,
But it's not that. Anyways. Yep, so it's the second worst reviewed Christmas movie on Rotten Tomatoes, behind the 2010 Nutcracker. And now I have my summary. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Move over, Mr. Grinch and Hans Gruber. There is a new Christmas villain in town, Luther Crank, aka Tim Allen. No, he doesn't get arrested for cocaine use in this film, but maybe that would be better. Good old Midwest dad terrorizes the neighbors, commits almost cat murder, and tries to put the mailman in a coma. But with a neighborhood like his, I almost can't blame him.
Why the fuck are these people so goddamn nosy, Hannah?
I don't know.
They're so concerned with other people's business. They're like, you're not having your Christmas party? You're not ordering Christmas cards?
Also, do these people not work because they're all home during the middle of the day and it's not
Leave
COVID?
them the fuck alone.
They don't work from home.
They just want to live their lives. Stop getting in their business. I just, like, from the get-go, I don't remember the first time I saw this movie. I don't think we saw it in theaters.
No.
I have never really been particularly fond of this movie. Like, I don't remember liking it as a kid, and I've only seen it a few times, like, on TV occasionally, and I've never really been particularly, like, cared for it. But having to sit through this movie all the way through, after having watched two great Christmas movies, was really hard.
Yeah, I made the mistake of watching it last.
The humor sucks most of the time. There's a few scenes I like. It's hard because I love Jamie Lee Curtis, but this ain't it.
She couldn't save the film.
She couldn't save the film. I think she plays a Midwest mom obsessed with Christmas pretty well. I'll give her that. She plays the part. It's bad. It's a bad movie.
I think because they go so
hard.
They go so for like the town obsessed with Christmas, but it's like the neighborhood obsessed with Christmas. But it's so extreme, and also like it doesn't. a lot of it, like, doesn't... Like, Luther Crank's an absolute asshole. Let's put that out there. The fact that he, like, doesn't even want to let her contribute to a charity because it involves Christmas is, like, the dumbest thing ever. But...
Agreed.
And also the fact that he ices his driveway and tries to, like, kill his mailman and all that.
He also steps on a cat's tail, like... Ugh.
Yeah.
Cat murder.
Yeah. I think that the problem is...
It's just, like, mean-spirited.
Well, it's mean-spirited, and I honestly don't think there's many good characters in this movie.
No.
Even the side characters aren't that strong, is the problem.
No, like, I don't like anyone in this movie. Even the daughter. The daughter comes back home unexpected after a month and is engaged to a man. And is so casual about that, where she's like, yeah, I'm engaged. I'm bringing him home. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You reunited with someone you knew in college, and now you're like, let's get married. Also, I'm leaving the Peace Corps to come home after a month. Hannah, I couldn't believe it. I had forgotten that they had just met and had gotten engaged. And I was like, and the parents are, like, not
concerned.
Like, that concerned?
It's, like, a very, like, first world white problem
white
movie.
People problem. It very much is. That is a great way to phrase it, Hannah.
You know,
it very
because
much
like
is a first world. Oh my God, we spent $6,000 on Christmas last year. Let's use that and go on a cruise instead.
And
but
like
just kidding. Tell me this, Hannah. If you let's say you decided, I'm gonna go on a cruise instead of celebrating Christmas this year. Which fine. I mean, a lot of people don't even celebrate Christmas. So you do whatever you want. You don't have to celebrate Christmas a certain way. But if your daughter is like, hey, I'm coming home, are you not fucking going on that cruise? You telling me that you can, well, one, you're going to be able to cancel that, or you can just lose $6,000, like, no loss at all, like, no monetary loss. Like, you wouldn't be upset by that, Hannah?
Yeah.
If I had a daughter who wasn't coming home for Christmas, and I said, all right, let's treat ourselves to a cruise. If she was like, hey, I'm coming back, like, today, I'd say, sorry, we're leaving tomorrow on a cruise.
Fuck
Sucks.
you.
Like, yeah, going on vacation. I'll pick you up from the airport, but then I'm going to be gone the next day. Like,
yeah. Like, the biggest conflict in this movie is that they have to suddenly plan a Christmas party.
Yes.
Before the daughter comes home.
Yes.
I'm like, really?
And that's the conflict. We have to make cookies.
Stakes.
We have to make cookies and get the ham and get my drinks and invite this creepy old man to my party. I hated that scene. That scene made me so uncomfortable.
When he's, like, in the store and he's like, you still live on this street. And I was like, get away, creepy Santa.
And he's just, I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I hate everything about it.
Yeah,
it's just a bad movie. It's bad.
It is bad.
I was not thrilled having to watch it. Because I was like, I'm not going to like it. I already know I don't like it. But it got worse.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't even pick a favorite scene.
I didn't either.
But I will say, the only character that I really cared about was Nora, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis, yeah.
Because I think out of all the characters, she's, like, sure, she's obsessed with Christmas, but so is our mom. But she's, like, very, like...
She's very genuine.
She's at least trying to, like, do both routes.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't really even have a favorite music moment.
I liked, there's like a 5-second scene where they start playing Frosty the Snowman while zooming in on this giant Frosty with, like, flames in his eyes, and I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
So I kind of liked that, I guess.
The line that the only line I think I actually laughed at was when they were tanning, and the tan, like, lady who works there is like, you look like a corpse, and I was like, me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, like pretty much the only line that I thought was funny.
Yeah, there were, like, a few specific lines. Like, there's one when he accidentally, like, falls off the roof. There's, like, some of the dialogue was good with that I was like, okay, this kind of works. But, like, and, like, this Dan Aykroyd plays this... I hate Dan Aykroyd's character. He's just, like...
Abe Frohmeyer.
There's no Abe Frohman. Sausage King of Chicago. They are outside of Chicago. Could be him. He doesn't add anything to the movie.
No. Like,
there's no added benefit to having him.
There's not.
There's just not a lot of benefit to a lot of the characters. Like, I don't know, I just hate how nosy everyone is. Because, like, here's the thing, Hannah. This isn't a small town. No. This is, like, the suburbs of Chicago.
Right.
There's no fucking way all of these people are that involved with their lives.
Yeah.
Like, I go home, Hannah, And I like have routinely never run into anyone I know or like anyone's parents, any teachers, any people I know who still live in our hometown. I don't run into anybody.
Right.
Like, I can go my day, like, not seeing anyone I know. And, like, we live in I would assume, a relatively similar size suburb, right? Like, of a similar...
Yeah,
like,
you're not in a town with, like, 200 people where you know everyone's name.
Right, like, it's not a small town.
You're in, like, a suburb. No one on their neighborhood street talks like that, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's
where
just,
the whole
like,
neighborhood talks to each other.
Yeah. So, I don't know, I just, like, didn't... As someone, I mean, we're not from Chicago area, but as someone from a suburban Midwestern, city area, just seemed really unrealistic.
Also, what's the chance that every single person on that street actually celebrates Christmas?
Very little for being a Chicago suburb.
Right.
There's a lot of people, like, in just generally speaking from our subdivision, I knew a lot of
who
people
don't celebrate Christmas.
Yeah, growing up. So it wasn't like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine stopping talking about this movie.
Yeah, I am too. Otherwise, we'll just keep going on and complaining.
Yeah. Okay, so last episode, we brought up the fact that we would like to be able to revise our current ongoing lists.
Yes, I think I cut that from the actual episode.
But anyways, it was brought up between me and you.
As we went over Lindsay Lohan rankings, we discussed the ability to change any of our existing long-term rankings, which will stand for any moving forward. Specifically because Hannah made a lapse in judgment last year.
Yes.
And she'd like to correct that this year.
So I'm going to do that now just so it switches. I just switched one place around.
Okay.
Basically all I did was I moved Happiest Season down to 3 and I moved Christmas Vacation up to number 2.
Okay.
I felt like for some reason I thought Christmas Vacation I had to put lower because I've seen it so many times, and then I realized it's better than Happiest Season.
Yeah.
So that's my only switch.
Okay. I can go first.
It doesn't really matter. You can go.
Number 9, I have Christmas with the Cranks. I just, didn't enjoy any aspect of this movie. Part of me enjoying a Christmas movie means that there's some element of it that makes me joyful during the holiday season, or emotional, or has some sort of impact, or has comedy that, makes me laugh. Again, holiday season. It's the best time of the year. This was not it. I didn't get joy out of it. It just sucked. 5% on Rotten Tomato, honestly. I get it.
Yeah.
Number 9.
Yeah, number 9, I put Christmas with the Cranks. I don't need to explain. It was just not good.
Yeah. So number 8, I have Falling for Christmas, which was the Lindsay Lohan movie. Perfectly acceptable Christmas movie. But we had a really stacked Christmas list. So, therefore, it's number 8.
Yeah, number 8, I have Animated Grinch. I stick by it. I'm not saying anything else.
Okay. Number 7, I have Happiest Season. I like this movie. I think it's good. For a newer Christmas movie, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the characters. It's just, again, our list is stacked. We've got a stacked Christmas list. So it went as number 7.
Yeah, number 7, I had Falling for Christmas. We talked about it last episode. I think it's a decent enough movie. It's a little bit better than a Hallmark movie for me. And I just enjoy Lindsay Lohan on the screen.
Number 6, I have Love Actually. As a movie, I don't think this movie is honestly that great. However, it has some really good scenes. Again, particularly the Emma Thompson scene is one of my favorite scenes just in general, especially of a Christmas movie. So I think that's why it's higher than Happiest Season, just because of the specific moments that I think work really well.
Yeah, number 6, I have Muppets Christmas. To me, I enjoy the movie. I just don't think it's my favorite, and it never really has been.
Number 5, I have Muppets Christmas Carol. And I agree. I think it's a good movie. I think it's maybe the best adaptation of A Christmas Carol. Michael Caine really carries the movie. Love the Muppets. But I think it's, in terms of Christmas movies, I think it's middle pack. Perfectly good, but again, not a favorite.
Yeah, number 5, I went with Happiest Season. I think the reason it goes higher for me is because I was really not expecting much, and it was better than I expected. And I think it was funny. It had good humor, and I really liked the cast. And I like the representation, because I don't feel like you get a lot of Christmas movies that have characters who aren't straight and who aren't, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, according to Cameron Candace Burr, with her
traditional.
You need the traditional Christmas movies,
right? Yeah, so I think that's
traditional white Christmas movies.
Right. So I think that's part of it for me too.
Number 4, I have The Grinch animated. I strongly disagree with your opinion. This movie is 30 minutes long. This is one I could watch every year and not grow sick of, because it like hits in 30 minutes. Like, you get music, you get good animation, you get a good character. The story's a classic. It's just like a fun one. I appreciate it. I think it works well.
Yeah. Number 4, I have Elf. I really like Elf as a movie, as a Christmas movie. I think the problem with Elf is I watch it too often, that it almost becomes a bit like hard in the middle because I always space out and I'm never paying attention. But I think it's a really solid, strong Christmas movie, and it's funny.
Yeah, number 3, I have Elf. I really like Elf. I think when I was a kid, it might have been my favorite Christmas movie. But as an adult, I still like it. I'm still fond of it, but I can agree that it's not the best Christmas movie. And there's certain elements that I think don't work as well as other movies do.
Yeah.
So, number 3.
Number 3, I went with Christmas Vacation. I love Christmas Vacation. We've always watched it every single year. It's funny. It holds up from the time period it's from. There just happens to be 2 movies that I like a little bit more, but Christmas Vacation definitely is like one of those movies that I don't think I'd ever get sick of.
Number 2, I have It's a Wonderful Life. I think this, in terms of like a Christmas drama, I think this is the best. It is a well-told, like a character-driven story that works really well, especially considering this movie is almost 80 years old.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that it still hits well in the modern era, I think is something that, like, is important to note. And it's a classic for a reason. I think that it's not number 1 because it isn't my favorite, and I think it doesn't, for me, like, there's one movie that I think represents Christmas, like, my memory of Christmas, and, like, the most. So, number 2.
Yeah. Number 2, I have Love Actually. I know a lot of people don't, like, love Actually. It's kind of like polarizing, but I just really, really love all the character interactions you get. I love a lot of the scenes. I just think a lot of the scenes are like really enduring, and I think this is one of those movies where you get a lot of characters, but it works because they tried to do like Valentine's Day and New Year's Eve or New Year's Day or whatever, and it got really chaotic.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those movies where it works. I just really like the cast too, and I love Emma Thompson.
Yeah, number 1 still, I have Christmas Vacation. I just love this movie. I think as a comedy, in like combining comedy with Christmas, it just works so well. The story works, the humor, for the most part, holds up. The physical comedy is really what stands out to me. Like, that scene on the ladder gets me every time, and I know it's coming, and I just love him, like fiddling around on the ladder, and, like, everything with that, I think, holds up so well. And I think why it's number 1 is because I could watch this movie every single year, and I pretty much have watched it every single year and never gotten sick of it. It's like a comfort movie for me. And I think it's like, you know, what I think of when I think of a Christmas movie, at least of the ones on our list. There might be one movie that I think could top it, that we have not gone over, but we'll see.
Okay. Number 1, I put It's a Wonderful Life. I love It's a Wonderful Life. I've always enjoyed it. I watch it every year. I just love like how simple it is, and I love, anyone who listens to this podcast knows I'm a sucker for character development. And like I said, this is like a masterclass in character development. I love it. I love the black and white. Like, it's just, I love old movies in general. And I think it really embodies, like, it sounds cheesy to say like the spirit of Christmas, but like a lot of the, even though it doesn't like have a lot of like Christmas things besides it takes place on that day, I think like a lot of like the behind the scenes stuff is like the elements of Christmas to me.
Yeah.
That's Christmas to me.
Yes. I would personally recommend, if you've never seen this film before,
to watch
and
it.
You're looking to watch it, it is on Amazon Prime, but I would watch it in black and white.
Black and white, yep.
I watched it in color accidentally, and it felt off-putting to me.
Yeah.
Just in general, I think the black and white version is, I don't think it needs to be in color to enjoy it.
I agree.
Like a lot of movies, I don't need them to be colorized if that's not how they, I mean, to be fair, they were in color when they were being filmed because Unlike Hannah's beliefs as a child, we didn't exist in black and white before color television was, invented. Yes. I don't know, but it's like something about the transition doesn't always work right. And in this movie, I just like felt off-putting to me. But yeah. I would highly recommend it. If you've never seen it before, I think most people will enjoy it.
Yeah. All right. Number 9, I did Christmas with the Cranks, Grinch Animated, Falling for Christmas, Muppets Christmas, Happiest Season, Elf, Christmas Vacation, Love Actually, It's a Wonderful Life.
Number 9, I have Christmas with the Cranks, Falling for Christmas, Happiest Season, Love Actually, Muppets Christmas Carol, The Animated Grinch, Elf, It's a Wonderful Life, and number 1, Christmas Vacation. At the very least, Hannah, if we have none of them in order except for one, I'm glad we can agree that Christmas with the Cranks is the worst Christmas movie on our list.
For sure.
I think that's something to be proud of.
I do too. Not for the movie, but for us.
Not for the movie.
But yeah, we have... I think the next episode's not going to come out till next year. It's going to be our end of the year review.
Yeah, it at the earliest would come out at the very end of December, but probably it'll come out
January.
Early January. But yeah, we'll be back with another year in review. We'll go over the year of 2022, the strengths, the weaknesses. We'll rank our episodes again. We did that in 2021. Just kind of go over how our year went and go into celebrate our 2nd anniversary.
Yeah.
As we now will have been releasing episodes for 2 years.
2 years.
On our anniversary of January 6th.
Which, look it up if you don't know why that's weird.
I can't believe our anniversary, like we started our podcast, it was supposed to be on January 6th.
We said absolutely not.
The fact that we had to cancel it a week, I still can't believe it.
Yeah, that's life.
What a time.
What a time to be alive. We have our Instagram, our Twitter, email r3podcast@gmail.com. You can let us know your favorite Christmas movie. You can let us know if there's a Christmas movie you'd like us to watch next year. Anything like that. Yeah.
We'll probably do another 3 or 5. Yeah. 3 to 5, I think.
Yeah, depending on how motivated we are.
Really depends on how motivated we are.
But we'll be back next year, probably.
Yeah. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.
We would like to thank Joseph McDade for our intro music. He provides free music available for all kinds of creative use. The song that we used is called Sunrise Expedition, and you can find it and his other music on his website, josephmcdade.com. If you would like to reach us, you can email us at r3podcasts@gmail.com. That's R, the number 3, podcasts@gmail.com. Or you can find us on Instagram by searching Research, Rank, Repeat.